I'm just waiting for the stream to start. I wasn't trying to like passive aggressively make you guys like quiet down, even though it worked. It worked pretty well. Are we good, Chris?
Yes, we are streaming.
Okay. All right. So hello, everyone. You're already quiet, so I don't have to like do my whole thing to try to get everyone to pay attention. So today we're going to talk about the Full Stack Fellowship. How many people here know a fellow? Okay, good. So that is usually like what makes everyone pay attention, because hopefully all of you know fellows and you have spent time even thinking about like what is this whole fellowship thing, like how does it work, etc. Like if you were asking these questions much earlier in your course, then most likely we told you that we're going to talk about it later. And right now, just focus on kind of what you're doing right now. And so that later is now. And so I only have just a handful of slides. More than anything, I'm going to do like Q&A with you all, and we'll try to keep this presentation very quick. You will, I would say after this talk, if you are interested in the fellowship, then you should talk to the people who are doing it the most. All right. So what is a fellowship? Well, in one sentence, it's a program about deepening your own skills, trying to get better, helping other people get better, and essentially giving back to other people in terms of education. How many people remember this pyramid from your orientation? Right, almost everyone. So I bring this back up because one of the goals, just to kind of give you context, like one of the most powerful things about the fellowship is that you spend a lot of time in this part of the pyramid, right? And like that, this one picture is really the whole, and actually probably in both of these things, and this one picture is a good demonstration of this whole presentation. And so that's why I bring it back. I bring it up again. But let's go through it in more details. Like, what will you be doing in the fellowship? Well, there are four kind of general duties. One, the first one is academics, which is working on instructional teams with instructors on, if you're on the junior phase, you'll be on workshops. If it's on the senior phase, then you'll be working with project teams. And in the same way that you all have been interacting with fellows. Then the second part of this is helping with the admissions team. How many people here were interviewed by a full stack fellow when you were doing admissions? Okay, cool. And was it nice to be able to speak to someone who's gone through the program? Like, hopefully you were able to ask them questions about their direct experience and like how, what ended up happening for somebody who directly went through it. And so that's why we really think that it's valuable to have fellows involved in admissions because of two things. Like, one is that students love talking to people who've actually experienced the actual program. Otherwise, if you don't do that, then sometimes like people will ask us to create a connection kind of afterward, like, hey, can you connect me to an alum? And then we'll do that. But this way you get to do that immediately. And the second thing is that that fellows also represent kind of the latest iteration of the program, right? Like in the sense that they just 1 or 2 semesters back they went through it, and they really know what parts of the curriculum are how have things changed. And I think from your perspective, like admissions to me is always it's one of the key things that keeps I guess it helps in the academics somewhat, but it also keeps the idea of it keeps the value of putting Full Stack Academy on your resume high, right? In the sense that like you're going to be a student here for 4 months or whatever the 17-week period is, but you're going to be a alum for much longer, and you'll probably have this name on your resume as you go through different jobs in your career for much longer, and so you should really care about what happens to, and I think in that way we're both aligned, right? Like even I care about what happens to Full Stack Academy in the future, but I think you should also, because you're in a sense you're associated with it, and so as a fellow you'll really get to play like a big part in that, which I think is special. You'll so the next thing is development. Um, you will have some time to do development, right? But the thing I'll say here is that the fellowship is primarily about teaching. It's primarily about teaching, and it's, in some sense, it's like the one or maybe the last time in a while for you that you will get a chance to do that, to focus on like leadership and teaching. Because after you get into your career as a developer, you're going to be working as a developer. You're going to be going through that kind of that progress of being like new in the team and then being more experienced and being like senior level and etc. Like you'll be kind of following that track. And so for a while, this is like a chance that you'll get to be teaching. And so while development is a part of it, and I think that you'll have some time, like it's not like our goal is not to make this like a development internship, which in a development internship, you would spend probably 70% of your time developing and 30% of your time on foosball, right? And so this is not like a development internship in that way. We don't even have a foosball table. We used to have a ping pong table, but to my dismay, one day when I was away, David sold it. And I used to really love it. I used to really love it, and I think about it still sometimes. But it's gone now. And overall, I agree with him. The main reason it's gone is because we could never get anyone to stop playing, and it was really loud and etc. So why should you apply? Well, these are some of the points I was going through right now. But Teach to Learn is extremely powerful. It's an extremely powerful way to deepen your own learning. That's just the reality of it. If you've been in that position before, where you've been a tutor or you've taught a class, or in whatever way, you really understand that that part. It's an immediate opportunity. It's something that's upcoming, and it's for a fixed amount of time that you can take the chance to focus on that. You get to go deeper in your training, expand your network of developers, meaning that you will interact with two classes of Full Stack Academy, I think, which means that and of course Full Stack and Grace Hopper, of course. But when I say Full Stack, I mean both. You'll get to interact with many more people who will look at you as a mentor, as somebody to look up to, and so it creates like a special bond, and hopefully your network will be stronger. And then finally, this is the intangible thing, but a lot of the special things that I think are special about the culture at Full Stack were in a sense initiated / invented by fellows. So to give you an example, like Hot Seat. Hot Seat was invented by a fellow, and I think that it's something that's very simple, but I've always felt that it's a key part to like letting people really get to know each other outside of just the coding world. So anyway, so things like that, I think you can make a very big impact. This is all that information kind of put into a timeline form, and so in the same way that your student experience was split up into junior and senior phase, in a sense, your fellowship experience will also be split up into that kind of phase. You'll be doing instruction, admissions, engineering all throughout, and then having all throughout the two phases. But then in your junior phase, you will have a learning team, and then in your senior phase, you will be a project lead with a senior team. And so that's kind of the key difference. I think for each of these, I feel like the check marks don't really are not as descriptive about how that role changes, right? Like for example, like in your in instruction, like as you yourself become better, like you will be able to do more, and you'll be able to maybe work on a separate workshop that you think is great. In fact, a lot of improvements and a lot of suggestions for how workshops should change come from fellows, because they've just gone through the curriculum and have a pretty and especially the fact that fellows tend to be people who are doing really well in their class, like they tend to have very good suggestions for how especially new workshops, like the ones that which happens all the time. Like we keep having workshops that are very different or that are new. Fellows get a chance to look at those more deeply. So I think these check marks don't necessarily do it justice, but this is the general idea. I think overall, you should be ready for another intense experience that's about as long as your full stack period. It's the only so the difference is that you are kind of on the other side of the table where you're part of the staff, and I think that's just it's just a very different experience in that way. All right, so maybe I'll pause here for actually, you know what? I only have one slide left, so I'm just gonna go through it, and then I will take questions. So the next thing I want to talk about is the program details as far as like the logistics, pay, etc. And so the way this program works is that the total stipend for the program is $10,200. It's considered an internship. And the reason it's considered an internship is because it's paid, but it's like a fixed period of time. So it's not like a full-time job that you expect to go on forever. And so it's considered an internship. Your pay is broken out as follows, where your pay is $680 a week as a junior fellow and $906 a week as a senior fellow. For hiring day, a lot of people ask about what will happen on hiring day. Well, so for hiring day and like the hiring day now we have kind of two different things that we will go into more later about how this will happen. But so there are demos, and then there are conversations with employers. And so essentially this time if you take on the fellowship, if you're selected and you take on the fellowship, then this time you will participate in the demos with your team, with your project team, but you would not participate in the employer conversations. However, when you graduate from the fellowship, you will participate in the employer conversations. A question that I'm sure I'm going to get, which I will just pre-answer, is that like, what will I do during the demos of the hiring day when I'm graduating from my fellowship, right? And the answer to that is that you won't be doing a demo. And I know that comes as a surprise to some people, but the reason that this ends up working out well logistically is because it's hard to do the full demo, because you're practicing it right now with your team, and most likely not everyone from your team is going to be here when you are graduating as a fellow, and so you don't do demos. However, I don't think this really hurts your kind of chances or something that much anyway, because you will have the demo video from the time that you basically from this time when you were actually there. Second thing is, you may actually have not that your projects are not cool right now, but you may actually have much cooler stuff to show at that point, and you may not even, you may actually want to talk to employers about something else, because it's, it'll be like many weeks after, or a few months after. And then the third general thing is that, fellows don't really have to work hard to stand out during hiring day anyway, just naturally because, like they've been teaching assistants here, so they already stand out, and so it doesn't really harm you too much to not be in the demos, right? So just answering that ahead of time. For people who are listening in the remote, from the remote immersive, so if you want to, so you can be considered for the fellowship. However, you must be willing to or able to move to New York or Chicago if you want to do the fellowship. And the reason is because right now, we just have not worked out a really nice, sensible, cohesive program for a completely remote fellowship where you're sitting somewhere else and you're doing fellowship. There's a lot of things about the fellowship that like need you to be here, and part of being, part of all the other group of fellows is actually a huge part of it too. And so unfortunately, if you can't move here, then you won't be considered for the fellowship. If you want to be, so this is just a side point. If you want to be a fellow specifically in the remote program, right, which is something that you can indicate, it's a slightly different type of experience. Then you have to be in New York because the remote program is run out of New York, right? All right. So, and then so then the last thing is that you need to have work authorization in the U.S. to participate in the fellows program. While it would be, I would, this is not something I care that much about, but but the government does care about it, and I can't do like funny things to. So I'm just telling you now because people always ask me. I can't like I just can't do anything funny to like allow you to work here if you don't have authorization. So okay. So oh yeah. Okay. I had one more slide. This one is just that the applications are due on Monday morning. There is just a simple form to fill out about the applications. Here's what's really great about this form, okay? The great thing about the form is that just by filling out the application form, it will like get you to think a little bit about will you even like the fellowship at all, right? Because I don't think it's for everyone in the sense that and that's okay. It doesn't even have to be for everyone. Like it's if you are somebody that really enjoys and you get energy from working with other people and like you like being you like being looked up to, you like having some amount of responsibility, all those things, and that's not everyone, and that's okay. Then you will enjoy the fellowship. But if you are really looking forward to really diving deep into code like at your desk and be able to have headphones on all day long, which sometimes I crave, then that's probably, I think that's also great, and you'll be well prepared for that coming out of this program, but you won't do well in the fellowship. Like it will be frustrating for you to have to keep working with students, and like it just won't be fun, right? And so part of doing this, looking at this application, just answering the questions will, kind of get you to think about, will I even like it at all? And then the way so there will be brief interviews that happen next week. Our goal for these interviews is to take as little time of yours as possible. So we don't really want you to do any preparation beforehand. Like the whole goal of it is that, you come in, there will be a technical interview question that you will kind of teach, that you will teach back to the interviewers. And then we'll talk about basically your goals and your behavioral questions. Like we don't have too much, diving to do about your technical skills since we already know you as students, and so we don't really have too much to do there. And so we try to keep it short. We try to keep it to the point. But the goal is, as you can see, even from the interviews, is that we want, we want someone who's someone who takes a fellowship to really love it themselves, right? Like finally, only then will like you as a student enjoy working with fellows. So that's kind of how the interviews are as well. By the end of next week, we will be able to, hopefully by the end of next week and latest by the following Monday, we'll be able to announce who the class of fellows is. And so our goal is to, so we're starting this relatively early. We were actually going to do this yesterday, but we had I would say like the not so crazy storm. But it turned out to be much more faint of heart than it was planned to be. But so anyhow, so this is the application process, and that's it. Now it's really the last slide, and time to ask questions. So I'm more than happy to answer questions. Think about, like, you can ask questions about what is the program about, like logistics, application, whatever. So yeah, questions? Yes?
How much involvement is there with the other programs like bootcamp prep or the weekend workshops?
So the question was, how much involvement is there with the other programs like bootcamp prep or weekend workshops? And so the way your assignments work is that there is there's like a large sheet of different activities that you sign up for. And like you have to sign up for a certain amount of activities, right? And so depending on your schedule, depending on what you want or don't want to do, you can kind of pick and choose what your activities are as long as you sign up for enough activities. And so like if you are the kind of person who like really doesn't want to do X, then you can try to do more things in the other days. And so all I'm saying is that like you could spend more time working with like bootcamp prep students and such. You could probably spend less time. So you can customize it a little bit. I think there will be like some requirements that you have. I can probably let Gabby speak a little more about like if it's possible to completely avoid a course or not. Is it, Gabby? Okay, so during the entire fellowship, you're required to work at least 2 weekends, I think she said, something like that. Yes.
Do you have the week before?
Go ahead. I'll get to his question next. Yeah.
So do you start with the start of the junior cohort, and do you get the week off during the week also?
Do you start with the start of the junior cohort and you, okay, so yes, you do start with the following junior cohort. The week between your graduation now and the week between that, so you get most of that time off. I think there is a day of kind of fellow training, which is at the end of it. For the review week in between the 2 cohorts, so you do actually get paid during that review week. It tends to, I mean, there will be some things to do. It tends to be more relaxed than the other 2. And it's also a little bit of a review week for fellows, but you do get paid during that week.
Do you have to work on campus?
I think maybe. So maybe Gabby can answer that. These are all like edge case questions that, yeah. So the question was, do you have to physically be on campus during the week 7 of your fellowship? Yes. The answer is yes. You have to be on campus. Yes. Okay, one second. I'm gonna get to a question over there.
Is this one working? Okay. So this is kind of like a follow-up question from Jason Powell. Just I don't think they heard the question before. What is the schedule like? Hours per day, Saturdays, etc.
What is the schedule like? How are?
What is the schedule like? Hours per day, Saturdays, etc.
Okay.
I think Gabby answered it, but
I see. Okay. So in total, you are expected to work around 40 hours of the week. And so, like I was saying, there's a spreadsheet where you can sign up for different hours that you would want. And so I think you could sign up for like a lot of time on weekends. You could sign up for less time on weekends. You can kind of select your hours. You probably have to do some hours that are not during like the main, like the main block of like 9 to 5 or whatever. Probably everyone will have to do some of those, but you have some flexibility about what you do because the weekends and evenings commitments, they don't need as many, we don't need as many fellows during those times as like the core daytime programs, and so there is a lot of slack for like being able to focus more on the daytimes. Do you have anything to add to that, Gabby?
Is that if you do work a weekend, you can actually take that day off during the week. We're very flexible with time off. So let's say you work a night for like boot camp prep, you can actually take the next morning off as long as it doesn't conflict with any of your workshop assignments or engineering assignments. We're definitely very flexible with that.
Okay. Did everyone get that? Okay, cool. Yes.
How much freedom do you have to choose between like being a fellow for remote versus on-site?
Oh, versus on-site? So the question was, how much freedom do you have to choose between being a fellow on remote or on-site? And the answer is that you have a lot of freedom to express your preference, but it depends on how many people have that preference. So we would love to let the people who have the preference get their preferences. But let's say if a lot of people want to be on remote, then we'll probably have to make some choice. But otherwise, I mean, we want you to be where you want to be, right? So I think we would love to give you, we would love to let you work on remote or not work on remote if you really don't want to. Yes.
I know you mentioned there's a development aspect. Can you talk more about that? Is that working on LearnDot or your own specific projects? Or
Yeah, sure. So there is a development aspect. The question was, what is the development part of the fellowship? I'm trying to repeat the question so they also get sent. So the answer to that is that we cannot guarantee that everyone will get to work on LearnDot, mainly because there are a lot of fellows, and LearnDot has a limited amount of new features it needs, and there needs to be some mentorship also of people who are mentoring what's going in and out of LearnDot. While there's definitely a chance that you will get to work on LearnDot, however, I would say that the more likely thing that you should think about doing is like working on, kind of a second capstone in a sense, like working on something else that you're excited about that that you can work on whenever you can. Like I think you'll be in an environment where like it's like the whole force of things will be like learning more about tech, going deeper into different technologies, and like the spirit is still of like education, and the reason I mention that is because it's different than the spirit in a tech company where it's more about like meeting the business goals of the company, right? And so like if you are working at a company and there's an XYZ project assigned to you, you will annoy your manager if you start doing things that are not really part of the spec, because there are like probably tight deadlines and like you just need to get things out of the door, and that's also a lot of fun for a while. But I think that you still have the freedom in the fellowship to explore things that you didn't get to explore. Like the other day I saw I think Facebook released like the React VR library where you can build React apps for like VR applications, and I think we do have a functioning VR rig. Griffin, am I over promising? Oh, we have 2 of them. Okay, all right. So I was under promising, and so like you can use that to to basically work on a project around that. So things like that. Like I think it isn't like I'm saying, this is a teaching fellowship, so it's not like we have ready set assignments for development for everyone. But I think that you're like that is really it's really up to you, like how much development you want to do during that time, right? And I think there will be some instances where we need help with full stack software. It's pretty common actually. I mean, LearnDot was, a lot of LearnDot was built by fellows, and so there's definitely that opening there. All right. Any other questions? Yes.
How's a typical day in junior phase handling health tickets usually?
How does the day go?
Well, in the junior phase, the fellows are on health tickets.
Yep.
How is that generally handled? Is it just like every time there's a health ticket, it's just an open pool and someone should take it, or is it like some people are on that day?
Yeah. So one thing I should say is that if you are a junior fellow, you're not going to be on the instructional team for every single workshop, right? Like usually, or actually always, we have more capacity than we need, specifically so that fellows have time to rest and like learn for the next workshop and review and like do other things. And so you'll be assigned to some workshops. This again goes back to what you sign up for. So, like you'll be assigned to some workshops, you won't be assigned to some workshops. Like something I would, and like you can think about which workshops you want to do or don't want to do. But when you are assigned to a workshop, you're essentially going to be on the floor, thinking about like help tickets, working with students, providing assistance to instructors when they need to, working with instructors when, let's say, there's like some major bug found and like everyone's computers have XYZ happen, then you're kind of part of the staff and you're responsible for the flow of that class continuing. Like let's say our internet drops in the middle of like some workshop and then everybody's suddenly like suddenly pissed, then I mean it's something that like you are on, like it's one of your responsibilities to try to make sure that people are still using their time well, that you're a resource for like when people need help. Yes.
So I saw the base structure, the junior was 23 hours per week. The base structure. I saw the junior grade was 23 hours per week, and the senior grade was 40 hours per week.
23 hours per week?
Oh,
Okay, that's a mistake.
or is it 23? If you go back to the page. What is it 23?
Oh, it's 23 cents. 23 cents. So, now I see why, because the second one is 40. Oh, wow, okay. Yeah, so the junior phase is definitely not 23 hours a week. I just put those on there because one of the things that happened when, like, a couple of cohorts ago, like, we realized that we just want you to plan out your finances well during the fellowship, and a lot of students who become fellows have not held a professional job before and have not received like a proper paycheck before. And I know to those of you who have, you may be smiling like, it's not such a big deal. But for example, like I've had fellows who were pretty angry that their paychecks were less than what they thought they should be because they didn't really know about income tax. And I'm just saying, like, so we want to make sure that you can plan out your finances properly. In fact, during fellow training, I think we will do a quick primer on, like, income tax and like how to, and also like how many exemptions to choose and like how that impacts how much money you actually receive in the bank, things like that. And so anyway, so that's why we're being very specific with the amounts over there. Yes.
Two questions. One, I think I know the answer, but just to clarify, health insurance is not included.
Yeah, health insurance is not included. It's just essentially it's an internship, not like a full-time employment. Yeah.
But the bigger question I have is, how do you select, what the selection process is if there's more applicants than you have open spaces for fellows? How do you choose?
How do we choose? I think so. Each of the three things that you do here, like, whoever's interviewing you will try to assess like how well you did at teaching, like how well you were in your demeanor when you were getting lost. So there's also a part of this where there's like a debugging thing where like you're helping us to debug something in a in some code, and so we try to assess that. We try to assess like what are your motivations for doing the fellowship. And then finally, we definitely look at like how strong you have been through the program technically. Although that's not the only that's definitely not the only consideration, because like I said, like it's very important that you also have that other component. Overall, I would say that it's really a hard process for us because there's always more people that apply than the number of slots we have, and we already selected you once, right? Like we like you, that's why you're here. And so it's always a hard process. And at the same time, like I think, we try to focus on like a different skill set than what a developer interview would focus on. So like not getting selected for the fellowship really does not signal that, it does not signal that you are gonna do poorly in a development role. In fact, like some of the people who don't go on to do, or they don't get selected to the fellowship, like, you may go on to get a really great job and then, send me like a letter with a picture of you going like, ha ha ha, like joke's on you. So I welcome those as well. And so I mean, I think it doesn't mean that you're not going to be a good developer, but we are really trying to find someone who will be a great fellow. And I think that's important. Yes.
From Jason, do fellows get the same kind of career assistance after they complete the fellowship as regular students?
Yeah, definitely, yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, yes.
Quick little clarification, all of the paychecks were 3 cents.
Yeah. That's like the total amount is 10,200, which is the pre-tax amount. And the reason that it's hard to give anyone a post-tax number is, as you know, tax also changes based on your life circumstance. Like if you're married, you actually pay less taxes, right? And so anyway, there's a lot to know about taxes, but so that's why everyone talks about salaries pre-tax, because each person has a different tax situation. So yeah. Anyone else? Yes.
Maybe give some examples of like misconceptions people might have going into the fellowship, and like why after completing this, or maybe that wasn't the best idea to go to the fellowship.
So the question was, what are some misconceptions that fellows have going into the fellowship that they wish they had known when they were deciding whether to go or not? Let me think. So I think one misconception is that this is a development fellowship, that you're going to be spending all your time kind of building code and like just building projects. I don't know how many people, I mean, I usually clarify it like in this talk, but it's possible that somebody who goes in thinking that would not be happy with it. The second thing could be that, you know, there could be a misconception about like how much they actually like teaching. Like maybe they just don't actually like it, and they thought they did, and it sounds good, but like maybe it's not something that you actually like, and then you probably wouldn't like it. Like I think something, I mean, what I would recommend to you all is to actually talk to like your learning team fellows and fellows. Like I think, you know, no better person than to actually, you know, to give you like a real view of what happened. And if you talk to like a few different people, you'll get a pretty nice, well-rounded perspective of what the experience is like and like what they would give you. Because I think, yeah, different people definitely do have different experiences through it. Any other questions? How am I doing on time? Oh, I'm already past time. Okay. All right. So any last questions? So you know, going forward, I would recommend, if you have any questions that you weren't able to ask right now, you can, you know, always feel free to email me, email Gabby, talk to other fellows, and then watch out for an email today with the application. And so hopefully, you know, hopefully if you're thinking about it, you will apply. I think it's a really great program. So, all right, thank you guys. Why is that swap?
Oh wait, I don't get it. Like full stack.
I repositioned it.
No, I don't know. I know that. See that?
Talk about our peers.
Hey, welcome back. What are you guys up to now? Hi.
Speaking at the alumni panel.
Yeah, but what I mean is,